Freedom of religion or belief is a fundamental human right. It underlies peaceful, stable, and inclusive societies where people and communities feel fulfilled and connected to their cultures. The presence of coal mining and the construction of power stations has negatively impacted on that right, leaving communities unable to access water and ancestral grave sites in order to carry out their beliefs. Through its interaction with affected communities and in collaboration with the Coalition for Religious Equality and Inclusive Development, Earthlife Africa and Southern African Faith Communities Environment Institute investigated and wrote a case study report highlighting the importance of freedom of religion or belief in development and the ways that coal mining projects impact people's freedom to practice their religious and spiritual beliefs.
Your identity is part of your land, part of nature. That is what you are.
Ntate Bina grew up on the Fangpan farm in Steenbokpan and started a family. All his children were born here, and they do not have any other place they call home. When the farm owner died and his sons took over, all this changed. Ntate Bina was displaced from his home, and his physical and spiritual connection to his living and ancestral lineage was severed.
Tondore reba phone fa nga ba rata batho ma ka me wa gore ke ba demo sa go ha ke mmone ka phone re ka ska rata ka ba re khaola la bona ditlhale to di fa ka ha rena toilet ha rena le haile malo ke sota go ile gore ke na go nga tswa metsi na go nga hatso le ba twa re fisa ba masipala ba bua le ba masipala ba disetsa kana re lopa bona ba twa masipala ba tlhela go go betbor ke sota go re sota ka e leng gore ra sota a rena le bone a rena le gale ka go dipong ga gona sebe se re na le sone mara ke sebaka se sentse re lemo bana ba ke ba talla bo botheng nako ile santse re le ka re bona go bitsa re a kere ne go tsena go le mekga batho ba e leng gore ba ke ba maapostola bravo le ba enke ne re kgona gore re dire moletele re ba bitse re kope mole re ba bitse mole mara gona no ja a gone se se sentle re a ra gore batho ba ka nna teng mo gore ka rapela le bona marano re apale re tla ba fai a gone se ka ba fanso re nna re tshubi.
Ntate Bina and his family are at the mercy of Boikarabelo mine to visit grave sites in the area and to perform important rituals. To him, these should be basic freedoms. The community's lack of access to land and water also leaves them unable to sustain familial ties and cultural beliefs, as their ability to grow and harvest medicine for traditional healing, as well as perform water-related ceremonies, is affected. The case study report expands on how the community feels stateless as they are unable to access natural resources like water for both everyday and spiritual practices, as well as how the municipality cannot come in to provide access to basic services because the land belongs to a private entity.
Marakala a torgane le gore re pom a ra go tsoga hari ya ga le bone ka tele la di ka mo ba ka se ba supa ka le gore re mo go yo ai.
Coal mines are there to kill us. There's air pollution, first of all. Secondly, we're experiencing high rate of HIV and AIDS, prostitute, crime. So for me, I don't think coal mines will give me a future job or something. I feel like they're killing us.
Mahlakung is an informal settlement that was established in 2003. The land is owned by Eskom and is currently home to South African and foreign immigrants who are seeking jobs and refuge. There is no electricity and only a few communal taps for about 2,000 residents. The people are suffering due to lack of access to water.
Mo lefatshe le la Lephalale e seholo e sa conference gore dilo re be le siamo le ponelo pele re ile ra bona la ka Methabo le re Elana gore fa tsolo pele ya situation gore bontsha tsela gore e tsamaya ya even our debtors and lead us not into temptation but deliver us from evil, for thy is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever.
Since 2009, Earthlife Africa has been engaging communities in the Waterberg area and has facilitated educational and information sessions related to environmental justice. The investigation into the impact of large coal mining development projects on the freedom of religion or belief of individuals and communities bring up for scrutiny developments that can be religion blind through the disregard of African religious or cultural beliefs and practices. Through their programs, we realize that in order to safeguard cultural assets and traditions, we have to stand up and mobilize as a collective for corporations to realize that our lives matter. Another major challenge faced by communities as a result of the Matimba and Medupi power stations is pollution.
Now at this moment ka baka la re ya bona yano dilo ka moka ha tsona mo Lephalale mo re lela ka taba ya dikholo tsa di mine. Dikholo tsa di mine mo re le mo teng di problems that re shota metsi re shota dilo tse dintsi ka taba ya mine. And as a process batho hona no ka taba tsa mesiela ya mine ela e confirm gore bolwetse ka ba bo bontsi ka anda Lephalale. Batho hona no ka ene na kwa di ba ka dipetle ba smoke ha dilo tse dintsi.
The challenge of water has escalated within the Lephalale residents' health status. By visiting the hospital, the residents have noticed that the quality of life has deteriorated. They believe these issues are a result of both air and water pollution.
And then here's an happen more environment mo ditabeng tse di so. Re lebelela le mo dilong tsa ditemo dilo ka fela ha di dirahala. Re bona go le boima because of what re tlhoka metsi. He re lebeletse mafelo a mantsi go tseneng ka bo Mamojela ha gona metsi batho ba sokola. Ene mo masepala wa rena re tshwanetse gore o ka dilivela batho metsi ba di ba metsi per 1 a week. Mo ba di bile batho ka fela the whole month batho ba sokola ka metsi a bana se ba senwa. Ra tsena hape mo diplaseng tsa Maburu as a government ne. Maburu a re na batho re tsene gona ba pipitlantse mabitla ka hare ha teng le di mine le ka Medupi ke santse ke fa infection ka Medupi le yona e re diretse problem e nngwe thata because of what batho ba robetse ba ka mo Medupi he ba robetse ba le ka mo Medupi ka fa batho ba kampeletswe gona batho ba sa nyaka gore batho ka taba ela ya sedimo ka baka la gore la tsebe gore rena ka sedimo sa rena re le batho re tshwanetse re tsebe gore ro phasa batho ba bo rena ka kwale ro bua le bona ka kwale yana go apala gore re khone re tsene ka moteng ha di plaza tsela because of what mo batho mo mola ka mo 1997 to 96 ba ide ba re fa di follow up tsa gore ne ba ta re fa di photo tsa gore ba ka khona go di bea mo batho ba le ba robetse ntele ba khone re ka morago ba re bitse batho ba le ba khone go ntshiwa ka Medupi. Now at this moment dilo tse ha di khona hala ha di dira.
The second heritage assessment of ancestral graves at Medupi was commissioned by the Department of Environmental Affairs. The investigation identified 7 burial sites which have been disturbed, including sacred pools and old settlements that are worth preserving. The report states that all stakeholders in the Medupi case uphold the principle of respect for the dead and protection of graves, and that the damage or destruction suffered was accidental. The inappropriate actions by stakeholders in the development of the coal power station resulted in an infringement of cultural and other human rights, heavily impacting on the religious and spiritual fulfillment of members of the affected communities. At this critical moment, as the world tries to transition to a more just and sustainable economy, South Africa needs to recognize freedom of religion and belief as a human right, on par with other rights, and even be at the forefront of the promotion and emergence of a global citizens movement.
We accepted that our local communities will get employed, will get money, and then the standard of the local communities will be uplifted to a particular, a higher point.
Myself, I was in the Voortrekkers, that is a youth organization traditionally with strong connections with nature and going out and camping in the field and so on. So I had, from a cultural perspective, I had strong connections with nature and God's creation.
Since 2015, the challenge we have is that natural streams have been diverted away from flowing into the villages to service coal developments in Lephalale. The drying up of natural streams threatens spiritual practices, such as baptisms and the collection of water for African traditional healing ceremonies. The construction of Medupi has been incredibly halting to people practicing indigenous and African faiths.
Religion, ba olobe tsa kono ke loka ha yo mo ba ke ba kodmi ba ka se ka ba olobe tsa ba ka se ba ke ba ni and then ba ka se ba lema ba ka se ne le maruo gore ba go ka se ka metsi wa tla le ba tse di tshi wa le le black ba ka la batho ba na family tefa ke le ke shene batho ba teng ba hana go vote ba re government are.
The appeal that the pain of our people, and that includes all the people, makes on the church and the religious community is a very, very urgent appeal.
Kamara di pepe ke di chibi ke malwetse ka mefuta a fa kwa hae. Ona o thasa o tlodile.
le bana ba rona ba ho wa mmele ha o ka ntse a pele wa tla mosholo a kere botsana wena ke lo tshwara le ngwana ka rapopela la buisa re ntse a mo bona ka dimba rena ra rapela a rena mo re ante that's why maso nna a bantshi ka o ha sa na setso se la sa bo rena se shumisha re go la go le ba khala e be re bo ha re nna modimo re bitsa modimo ra bitsa mo banolo ba thoba boetse a se ba shoma pele ba thoba ba sa buka ba sa buisisa ka o tlhoka metsi ka o tlhoka tshebe ye tshwantse ka thusa batho.
Natuurlijk die grote geluksteenkoolmyn. Ek het nou 30 jaar geveg met hulle aan die gang oor die stank. Hulle die afvalstof het hulle daai rigting gestapel. En elke tweede môre as ek wakker word ek met die stank van die myn in my neus wakker. Sê ek en 'n myner is nie maats nie. Dit is hy's vir my 'n persoon wat nie omgee vir wat vir my belangrik is nie.
The residents are concerned with the huge amounts of air pollution and related illness. They feel their pleas are not heard.
I really felt that I had to do more when in a meeting with Eskom, a guy told me that as community members we are stupid, we are uninformed, and we will not be capable to stand up to them if they were at full force.
There were a lot of expectations created. So people saw this mega thing coming to Lephalale. People saw job opportunities. Businesses saw growth opportunities. What happened is that the local people did not get the jobs that they were actually expecting to get. The cultural questions are definitely not asked. The questions around pollution, because it's more, people are so desperate for jobs. And unfortunately, a lot of that did not realize.
Akere go na le ntho mo ka Afrika Borwa ba tjetse ya bolela ya gore ba kgotha ba teng what this question so fucking social cohesion re tselela re kgona go ba batho ba bopegile ya mo Afrika a kgona go bopega to get this part gore re ka no bereka ka mara re o sa kgona go ba le part ya gore o connect le gore o tseba gore bona le ba go dimo le ba fase a ba tofe ba tsoba.
Information sharing sessions were held by EarthLife Africa and SAFSI, where communities discussed the impacts of coal developments on their religion, land, graves, water, and other natural resources in the area of Lephalale. Organizations such as EarthLife Africa and SAFSI serve as a bridge between communities and high-level policy discussions. Through partnering with community-based organizations, communities are able to access information and distribute it to assist community struggles. Facilitations with communities are further documented and recorded in the research paper, which, with organizations, serves as a tool to empower and prepare communities to use information as the tool of mobilization. The Lephalale study has shown that when extractive mining and large development projects are proposed, culture, religion, and belief systems are not taken into consideration. In order to build as a nation, our heritage, spiritual roots, and traditional practices need to be a priority, and we need to honor cultural assets to ensure that religious and spiritual freedoms are not infringed upon.